Hey, shalom, shalom. Anakna waha ay bar Allah walakim la'atam. Call Shabawai Baharacha wa Kakshaw Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shab Ma'amat, which is truly hey with the Hebrew Israelites. Coming to you week in and week out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shad. I preach to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, Haitians, Israelite foreigners. Nachamatam Kayam Alakwat Hashemayim Korah, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Call Laim La Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shab Bahasham Cha HaKodash. Wa Mashana Kabadim Zukwayim Nawo. Wa Mala'akim. Shah Yeshala Zukwayim Racha Gadawa. Wa Chasai Wa Shalom Wa Barakim. Laha B'charim Shah Ha Gawaya Shah Shalom. All praise to the Most High Yahweh, which means He exists. Bahasham, in the name Yahweh Shai delivers. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Israel, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and mercy, peace, and blessings to the elected nation of Israel. Shalom, which means peace. So this is an article in RT. It reads, it says, globalization destroyed. G20 meeting in India signals the death of Western multilateralism, which multilateralism is pretty much a group of individuals or nations coming together, all right, for a common cause, all right, so like the UN or NATO, all right. So it says the death of Western multilateralism, because everybody was coming together for a common cause with the U.S. Spearheading it. It says the West is violating the logic of multilateralism by pushing unilateral sanctions to achieve political objectives against adversaries. So pretty much unilateral means, I'm going to that real fast. Let's get that. It says unilateralism is any doctrine or agenda that supports one-sided action. Such action may be in disregard for other parties. So pretty much pushing to where, Babylon is on top. It says the West is violating the logic of multilateralism by pushing unilateral sanctions to achieve political objectives against adversaries. All right, and I'm going to get a quick precept of that, because that's pretty much how, these Edomites in the U.S. Play ball. This is Yeshaya, Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 1. It says, woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. So pretty much what Babylon does is they'll make these different treaties, these different pacts, and sign different contracts. They never keep it their end of the deal. It's always, ultimately in the end, it's for their own benefit, you see. But nevertheless, let's continue on this article. It says multilateralism, which I'm going to jump around this article. It says multilateralism already under threat to the extent that the UN General Assembly devoted its 75th anniversary session in 2020 to reaffirming our collective commitment. All right, and what does this entail of? This goes into these nations ultimately plotting against the nation of Israel. All right, but I'm going to get a precept on that. This is the Hoyam Psalm, chapter 21, and we'll get verse 11. We'll start from verse 9. It says, thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in the time of thine anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them, going into, 2/3. And Esau Edom, and these heathen. It says, their fruit shall thou destroy from among the earth, and their seed from among the children of men. Chiefly going into, this is going into Esau. Yep. I'm reading from verse 8. It says, this is Psalms 21 and 8. Says, thine hand shall find out all thine enemies. Thy right hand shall find out those that hate thee. Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in the time of thine anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them. Their fruit shalt thou destroy from the earth, and their seed from among the children of men. All right. Chiefly going into, Esau Edom. But 2/3 are going to have to take part in, that fire as well. But Esau Edom is going to be destroyed after his 1,000 years of slavery. All right, continuing on, it says, for they intended evil against thee. They imagine a mischievous device which they are unable to perform. All right, and, they had their time to where, they had the whole world deceived, you see. But now the Lord is waking up the elect. All right, and Esau isn't going to be able to deceive the elect. All right, so ultimately their plans to, have world domination or a second, pretty much to achieve their NWO, they're not going to be able to do that, to keep us in a dead state forever. All right, I'm reading this again. It says, reaffirming our collective commitment. That commitment was to keeping the Israelites enslaved. It says, to the principle is facing further erosion, consequent to breakdown of relations between Russia and the West, and mounting of serious tensions between the U.S. and China, in which Europe is tentatively joining. All right, let's get another precept. This is Ibaya, also Obadiah, chapter 1, and we'll get verse 2. It says, "Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised." So the Lord is exposing this devil. All right, and these other nations are seeing how America, Babylon the Great, plays ball. Chiefly I'm applying this to Babylon, but this chapter goes into Esau as a whole. But right now, the U.S. is being made small. All right, this word goes into Quatan or Quawat, which means small or pretty much insignificant, unimportant. You see, because these other nations are seeing how Babylon does business. All right, they always look out for themselves. You see, so now they're teaming up, making the BRICS, coming up with their own currencies and things like that. So that's why this article is going into. It says the West multilateralism, is pretty much eroding. All right, so let's go back. So it says globalization anchor essentially in multilateralism is being reversed, already under stress as a result of the sea pandemic. The global economy is under more pressure from continuing conflict in Ukraine, including the unrestrained use of sanctions as a policy instrument by the West, going into how the West wants that unilateralism, because if all these other nations want to do something different than what they already on, this westernization, the West is like, all right, we all want to do that, so they'll put sanctions in order to put them to limit trade, and what does trade do? It stimulates the economy. You see, so the West is has a stronghold on through these sanctions on these other nations. So pretty much what these other nations are doing is they teaming up together. So it says, let me keep going. It says, to achieve political objectives against its designated adversaries. That's why they putting the sanctions on them, and again, being that the U.S. is doing this, they're at the top, so they're like, all right, well, we what I'm saying, we can't thrive dealing with the West because they just going to use the sanctions. So they're like, all right, they're using the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So they teaming up together to band up against America, Babylon the Great. It says, without concern for the disruption this causes in normal exchanges between third countries. It says unilateral sanctions violate the logic of multilateralism because the unilateralism only looks out for the person that's putting down the sanctions, which is the U.S. All right, it violates the logic of the multilateralism, which is everybody teaming up for a common cause. All right. So it says the G20 was set up to bring developed countries and emerging economies together to collectively address issues of global growth and financial stability that the more restrictive G7 group could no longer do on its own after the 2008 financial crisis provoked by mismanagement of the U.S. banking sector, which the G20s, your G7s, all these different summits, all these have the other nations collectively as a whole, but Israel has no place in these different events. These events are to keep us down as a people, you see. But what we're seeing the downfall of America, Babylon the Great, and its stronghold on society. All right, it's no longer being the social norm. It's not a social construct, so to speak, anymore. So let's get another one. This is Yeshaya, Isaiah chapter 47, and we'll get verse 1. It says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal, uncover the locks, make bare the thigh, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yet thy shame shall be seen, and I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man." All right, so pretty much we're seeing the downfall of America, Babylon the Great. It's no longer, or it's in the process of no longer being a world superpower. All right, and after that, the Israelites have next. We got next. It says, "Sit on the ground, there is no throne." All right, which that throne represents authority. All right, so going into Obadiah 1 and 2, thou has been made small, insignificant. You see that this is the process of it. All right, because the Lord, in Isaiah 19 is pretty much, he's bringing down America, Babylon the Great. All right, it said, "I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptian." It's divided. All right, the Lord is he mingled a perverse spirit. The morality in this place. All right, so pretty much when you start to see that type of movement, that's when a particular society starts to go down. Greece, Rome, Pompeii, Sodom and Gomorrah, which this place is pretty much all of those encapsulated into one. All right, so this place is going to receive double judgment for the abominable acts that's done in this place, as the scriptures go into, roughly paraphrasing. So continuing on, let's go back to that article. So it reads, it says, the G20 was in a sense a nod towards multipolarity, but more with the intention of taming it and keeping it under U.S. monitoring, you see, because it's, the U.S. is looking after themselves. It says, the future of the G20 is now uncertain. It is most unlikely that the sanctions against Russia by the West will be lifted in the foreseeable future. This means whatever cooperation was possible between the West and Russia and the UN Security Council of certain issues would no longer be feasible. It says, with Russia and China making common cause on key issues of global or regional peace and security because both are being treated as adversaries by the U.S. and international cooperation on issues of concern to the entire global community will be seriously impaired within the UN and outside. All right. All right. It says President XI or Xi may not be ready as yet to hold a bilateral meeting with the U.S. President JB, who is keen on one and would like to play it hard to get, waiting for more overtures from Washington, which has already sent several cabinet-level ministers to China. President Xi may not also want to engage the U.S. president on Indian soil, preferring to do so elsewhere, as in the case of President Putin. President Xi too has met various attending non-Western leaders bilaterally or at meetings of Shanghai Cooperation Organization or BRICS. The Chinese president may also, like his Russian counterpart, want to reduce the salience of G20 as a Western-led platform and build up an expanded SCO as a multipolar counterweight to it. And that's pretty much what we see. You see, so let's get one more. Well, I finish this the latter of this out. It says it is regrettable that the G20, which has on its agenda climate financing, green energy, sustainable development goals, trade, debt issues, reforms of multilateral banks, UN reforms, food security, health, female-led development, fake news, terrorism, tourism, and culture, and so on, in which there is a general consensus of views, is being held hostage by the West on the Ukraine issue to the point of not allowing an agreed joint statement to emerge. Ideally, which I'm gonna get a precept on that as well, because these other nations that's pretty. If you was to look up Westernization, it pretty much lists the lifestyle that the world has followed. You see, but that was almost like a version of Russia and China, or the BRICS version of Westernization, because they feel as if they got next to rule. So I'm gonna get this real fast. This is Psalms, the volume chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, "Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing?" That's a vain thing. These heathen, Russia and China, they feel like they next. You got people saying, "Oh, China is next," but no, that's not the case. Why are the heathen raging? And the people imagining a vain thing. That's a vain thing to actually plan. Like, all right, you're gonna be the next world superpower. You see, it says the kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed. All right, because that's really what that's going into as well. These heathen, they feel like they're going to have us in captivity forever. But that's not the case. It says, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. You see, so I'm going to get this word for derision. And it says, la'ik. It says mock, ridicule, to stammer, or to speak unintelligibly. Let's get another version. It said NET. It says the one enthroned in heavens, the one enthroned in heaven laughs in disgust. The Lord taunts them. You see, because they're looking foolish All right, because they're really setting things up, setting things into play. You know, the BRICS, you know, whatever alliances that they're doing, because they feel like they got next. You know, after they take down Babylon the Great, they feel like they got next. But that's not the case, again, to reiterate. But nevertheless, I wanted to get another precept. It slipped my mind. But yeah, I don't want to Zaza about Nayapa. Lord's will, that was a beautiful edification through the spirit. Wow, I don't want to Zah. Atham Yashi Awam Tawab. Lord's will, you have a good day. Hey, shalom, shalom.